Welcome back F11 members to part 2 of the Fundamentals of Post-Production video tutorials for issue 63, April 2017. Okay, carrying on from part 1 where I'm looking at the editing of a shoot in Canary Wharf in London, and in particular we're in tandem with the How It's Done feature in this very issue. We're looking at how we can save time and work in a methodical fashion when editing images. I like to start usually at the end of the shoot when the light was probably at its best and work backwards. Generally speaking, what I try and do is start with the best images and then work backwards, basically ruling out images as I go. So here at the end of the shoot in London, there was this lovely balance between the twilight left in the sky and the colours coming on in Canary Wharf. Now contrast that with, I'll take you right up the top here. I always start shooting too early, and as you can see from this shoot here, that I'm there in Canary Wharf, but the lights are just coming on, there's not that lovely balance yet, and the pictures shot later are much more successful. So I'm going to start at the end of the shoot and work backwards. And as I did with the previous sequence, I look at this particular sequence that I finished with, some lovely lights reflecting there in the water, shooting handheld with the 1DX Mark II. And what I'm really looking for when I'm making my selects is a bit of human interest in the picture to lift the scene. So I'll select the last image in the shoot here, and now if I go full screen, click on that into loop view, I can then move back through the shoot using the Shift key on my keyboard here to move through the shoot. Now as you can see here, this worked quite well here. I've got these people on the left, which add a little interest to the frame. I've got an aircraft there in the sky coming into land or take off, I can't remember which, at City Airport. And on the left here, I've got this sign, Canary Wharf, which locates the scene for me. So that's worked pretty well. Go to the end again and move back. And which one works best? Well, I don't want the people interfering with the writing on that sign there. So I think possibly that one there. They're reasonably large in the frame. There's no clutter going on. So I'm going to flag that image, make that as a select. And then if I had any kind of doubt about which to go for, I continue back. It's always worth going through each frame like this, because you can often miss details which can really make a difference to a picture if you're only looking at thumbnails. For example, a shoot I did in the Andes on our recent trip to Argentina, there was one scene where there was an Andean condor in the frame, which would have been so easy to miss just looking at the image as a thumbnail. So I always try and look at them all full screen. I quite like this image here with this lady here on the left of the frame there. She's very much sheltering from that biting cold wind that was blowing through there that evening. So that's quite interesting. But this lamppost here, the light there on the left, it's a bit distracting that. Let's just come back into grid mode. That's a possibility though, so let's just compare it with the select I've made already. So I select them both, and now if I hit N on my keyboard, I come up with them in survey mode, side by side. I do like her figure in the frame, it's got something about it, but that, my initial suspicion, I think is correct. Seeing them side by side, I can see that that lamppost is very distracting. So I'm going to go with my original pick there. So I come back into grid mode by pressing G on the keyboard there. So that's my select made for that particular sequence, and I've flagged it. Bear in mind, I'm only looking for of all these similars, I only want one picture. I'm trying to avoid working on multiple images, all of which look the same. Now, I'm not going to take you through every image on this shoot, but I just want to show you another sequence. Come up here, shot earlier when the lights were on, but it wasn't quite so dark. Now, what drew me to this particular scene was this polished stone here, reflecting the lights there, and people walking through the frame. And if I just take you back again by using the Shift key on my keyboard, I'm going to look at the various options for this particular sequence here. And I like the strong body shapes in the frame there. That's quite interesting. We have that one figure silhouetted against the light there. That's possible. But I think these ones here, this particular sequence with people marching through my frame in the bottom of it, is more interesting. People on their way home from work. So which one to use? Let's go back and go into grid mode again, hit G on my keyboard. Now there's about, I'd say, 4 options here. So I'm going to hit Command on all of those 4 options there. And now if I hit N, I see them side by side in survey mode. If I hit Tab on my keyboard as well, I can increase my screen size to help me make this selection. That's really able to see all 4 images side by side and ask myself which is the best. I've already been through this selection before, but my decision-making process was this here, this one on the left here. Well, not that one, because he's breaking the edge of the frame there. This is strong here. That's a strong candidate. But he's still, again, a little bit conflicting with the edge of the frame there. I quite like the shape here of the body shape of this figure here, the way she's looking to the right there. We see something of a face there. There's a kind of balance and symmetry to this particular composition that's appealing. And this one's good here, but he's starting to conflict with the shape of that statue, whatever, that modern art in the background there. So that's my selection. So I come back into grid mode, and that's how I've worked through the images. I've been through my whole lot now, and now it's time to get on with the processing of the images. I've made my selections. Now, at this point, I always work through in chronological order because I think it's very easy to get confused with what you've done and what you haven't done. So I try and be methodical about the way I work. So let's process this image. So I go into Develop Module. I've just realized, actually, there's something I've forgotten to do. I haven't captioned any of these images yet. So let's hit Tab to get my control panels, left and right, back again. Let's come up here, go Edit, Select. Come right up the top, the very, very first image shot, select that. I'm now going to put in my caption, and it's dusk at Canary Wharf. London, England. Now I should have done this right at the beginning, but never mind, this is fine. And now come right down here, select all of the images, Shift. Okay, so that's all of the images selected, and now I come here to sync metadata, and that caption will be applied to all the images. Captioning is so important. It helps us find pictures, and So that's just going to take a while to paste the metadata to all the images. Okay, now I come up and deselect all images. Select none. Now I want to find my first flagged image. As I said, when I'm processing images, I like to work through in a chronological way. So I'm going to put first flagged picture, which was this one. Go into develop module now, and let's start and think what this picture needs. Okay, so I shot it handheld, and as you can see, the image is a little bit wonky. It's not level. So let's just see how Lightroom deals with that. We might need to do this vertically, I'm not sure yet. Let's just click on auto here to start with. Excuse me. That's done a reasonable job there, but it's still falling over to the left. So I'm going to go vertical, level. Still not there really, is it? So I'm going to go back to where I started on this. Let's go back to upright perspective there. I just want to